Some people go through the worst year of their life and come out sharper, calmer, stronger. Others fall apart over a bad week. The difference isn't luck, and it isn't personality. In the next 8 minutes, we're breaking down 5 habits that separate a mind that breaks from a mind that doesn't. Most people will only ever discover one of these by accident. Stay until the end, because the 5th one is the habit almost nobody builds on purpose. Here's the first habit. Unbreakable minds treat every experience, good or bad, as something to learn from, without exception. Most people stop learning the moment life gets comfortable. School ends, routine sets in, and growth quietly stops. But the people who handle hardship the best are usually the ones who never stopped being students of their own life. Every mistake gets studied. Every hard season gets reviewed. Every person they meet, they're quietly extracting something from. A lesson, a perspective, a warning. This isn't about collecting information. It's about staying flexible. A mind that keeps learning stays adaptable, and adaptability is what actually determines whether a setback breaks you or teaches you. Rigid minds shatter under pressure because they've stopped updating. Relentless learners bend, adjust, and keep moving because they never expected to have all the answers in the first place. The practical version of this is simple. After anything hard happens, a failure, a conflict, a loss, ask one question before moving on. What does this teach me that I didn't already know? People who ask that question consistently build a mind that gets stronger with every difficulty, instead of one that just accumulates damage. Point 2. An unbreakable mind protects its own energy on purpose, and that starts with boundaries. Here's what most people get backwards. They think boundaries are about pushing other people away. They're not. Boundaries are about deciding, in advance, what you will and won't allow to drain you, so you're not making that decision in the middle of an already exhausting moment. People without boundaries end up mentally depleted by things that were never actually theirs to carry. Other people's moods, other people's demands, other people's emergencies. Over time, that constant leakage of energy leaves nothing left for the moments that actually require strength. Firm boundaries aren't cold or unkind, they're simply clear. Saying no to something that drains you isn't selfish. It's what makes you capable of showing up fully for what actually matters. Every person with a genuinely resilient mind has, at some point, gotten uncomfortable enough to say, "This isn't mine to carry," and meant it. That single skill, protecting your energy on purpose instead of by accident, is one of the most underrated forms of mental strength there is. Point 3, and this is the one people misunderstand the most. Controlling your thoughts doesn't mean forcing yourself to think positively or pretending hard things don't feel hard. It means choosing where your attention goes instead of letting your attention get hijacked by every passing worry. Left unmanaged, the human mind defaults to rumination, replaying the same worry, the same worst-case scenario over and over without ever resolving it. That's not thinking, that's a loop. And loops don't produce answers, they just produce exhaustion. Unbreakable minds interrupt the loop on purpose. The moment they notice a thought spiraling without producing anything useful, they redirect it, deliberately, towards something they can actually act on. Not suppression, redirection. "This thought isn't helping me right now," is a completely different move than trying to force the thought away entirely, and it works far better. This is a trainable skill, not a personality trait. Every time you notice a spiral and consciously choose to shift your focus to a next step, a fact, a breath, you're strengthening the exact mental muscle that keeps a mind steady under real pressure. The goal was never silence in your head. It's command over where your attention actually goes. Point 4. This might be the quietest source of a fragile mind, and almost nobody names it directly. needing approval. When your sense of stability depends on what other people think of you, you've handed your foundation to people who weren't asked to hold it. Every opinion becomes a small earthquake. Every bit of criticism becomes evidence against your worth. That's an exhausting way to live, and it's also incredibly fragile because approval is something you can never fully control. Unbreakable minds still care what people think. That's normal and healthy, but their stability doesn't depend on it. They can be criticized, misunderstood, even disliked, and still feel steady, because their sense of self was never outsourced in the first place. This is built, not born. It starts with noticing every time you shift a decision specifically to avoid someone's disapproval, and asking honestly, am I doing this because it's right for me, or because I'm afraid of what they'll think? The more often you can answer that question honestly and act on your own answer anyway, the less power any single person's opinion has over how solid you feel. And here's point 5, the one we promised at the start, the one almost nobody builds on purpose. Resilience is contagious in both directions. Spend enough time around people who catastrophize, complain, and collapse under small pressure, and your own mind starts calibrating to that same baseline without you even noticing. Spend time around people who stay steady, take responsibility, and handle hardship without falling apart, and that becomes your baseline instead. This is why the unbreakable mind is rarely built in isolation. It's built inside an environment that reinforces it, not by accident, by choice. The people you spend the most time with are quietly training your nervous system's default response to stress every single day, whether you intended that or not. This doesn't mean cutting people off carelessly. It means being honest about who leaves you steadier after time with them, and who leaves you more anxious, more reactive, more depleted, and being deliberate about where you invest your time going forward. A mind surrounded by strength has support to fall back on when it struggles. A mind surrounded by chaos has to do all the work alone every single time. So here's the final truth. An unbreakable mind was never built by accident. It's built by 5 ordinary choices, repeated until they become identity. Learn from everything, without exception. Protect your energy on purpose. Direct your thoughts instead of following them. Let your stability come from within, not from applause. And build a life surrounded by people who make you steadier, not shakier. None of this happens in a single moment. It happens quietly, decision by decision, long before the storm ever arrives. If this changed how you think about your own mind, subscribe. Every week, we break down another hidden mechanism shaping how you think, feel, and handle the hardest parts of life.